It's time to live your stronger life. Hey, I'm Sammy, physio coach and nutritionist, and your hype girl for creating your stronger life. Here, we ditch the quick fixes and build real strength inside and out. So whether you're here to tone up, drop the body fat, build muscle, mental resilience, or ditch the diet culture, or just feel bloody good in your skin, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Okay, hey fam, welcome to the very first official episode of The Stronger Life with Sammy, and in today's episode we are going to be talking fat loss without the BS. I'm going to be debunking common myths, offer no nonsense fat loss tips and tricks so that you can actually take sustainable action by the end of this podcast in order to finally start dropping some body fat. So let's jump straight into it. Right, so let's start with some myth busting topics on all the different fat loss out there, because girl, I totally get it. Social media is the Wild West when it comes to fat loss and all the different tips and tricks that people think are the right things to do, all the fad diets, all the different rules about what you can and can't do, when you can eat, when you shouldn't eat, what carbs are good, what carbs are not good. You got to do keto, you got to do this, you got to do that. It is a Wild West out there. And I know it would hurt your brain if you didn't have the base foundational knowledge to actually know what really works. And you know what really works? Oh, well, you're going to have to stay tuned because I will tell you about that after we bust some myths. So first, let's do some of that. Let's knock out the BS. Okay, so first of all, number one, carbs make you fat. Please, for the love of God, carbs do not make you fat. The only thing that makes you put on body fat is more calories than your body expends in a day. That is it. You can literally put on weight eating too much lettuce, broccoli, you can eat too much hot chips, you can eat too much chocolate, you can eat too much of anything, and you will put on weight. It's all about the calories in versus calories out when it comes to putting on body fat. You cannot fight the law of thermodynamics. That is just the way it works, unfortunately. But people have this idea that carbohydrates make you fat, and here's why. It's because when you eat a higher portion of carbohydrates, your body holds on to more water. That is the reason why people think that, oh, as soon as I ate a carbohydrate, I just put on some weight. And it's like, no, you didn't put on weight. I mean, yes, you put on weight, but it's not body fat. It's carbohydrates. They come into your body. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate that you eat, your body stores 3 grams of water that goes with it. So that is now 4 grams of extra weight in your body. So when you eat a higher carbohydrate load than what you previously have, then you're going to be storing a little bit of extra water. When you roughly have about the same amount of carbohydrates every single day, your body gets used to it and you don't have this water fluctuation. But when you go super low carb one day, super high carb the next day, and you're fluctuating up and down, then you are more likely to see these water fluctuations, which is going to cause weight fluctuations. So often what happens when ladies try and they're like, I lost all this weight when I went keto. It was like, yeah, because you got rid of all the water retention that you were holding from the carbohydrates, which are in your muscles most of the time, by the way. So it's a good thing. It makes your muscles really full and bubbly and beautiful. But when people go keto, they drop all the water weight initially, and that's why you have this rapid drop in weight from the very start. And then as soon as they bring the carbohydrates back in, the weight comes back on. You know what? They didn't lose any body fat. It was all the water. So step 1, carbohydrates do not make you fat. They are amazing for you. They give you energy. They give you life. They fuel your training sessions, they get stored in your muscles to make them look full and bubbly, and they taste delicious. And so it helps you from not wanting to cry every single night when you are dieting on the very low carbs. It also is really important for your brain function as well. If you've got a lot of brain fog and forgetfulness and dizziness, then you're probably not eating enough carbohydrates. So give that a go. Anyway, so that's carbohydrates. I could rant on all day long about carbs and the importance of it, but that will summate it. Otherwise, I'll do an hour-long podcast on how good carbohydrates are, maybe for another day. So another one is that you have to do hours of cardio, and that is the only way to lose weight. Well, yes, doing lots of cardio will increase your energy output. Your body actually does something pretty clever. When you do increase your cardio output by a lot, your body will actually make you be a little bit lazier throughout the day. You will actually conserve more energy after and around that cardio period if you're doing an excessive amount that your body can't really recover from. Your body's trying to protect itself, right? So it tries to balance the scales. So if you were doing hours and hours of cardio, likely your appetite's going to go up. So if you're not tracking your calories, you're likely to accidentally overeat because of all the cardio, and your body's then also going to make you do a little bit less and down regulate your activity levels a little bit. So sometimes you can kind of, catch-22. It's not as effective because it's going to increase your appetite and decrease your activity for the rest of the day. A bit of cardio, absolutely. Fantastic idea. Increases your energy output and it is fantastic for your cardiovascular health. It is very, very beneficial. But if all you're relying on is cardio, then there are a lot of negative side effects that can come with it. And it's not going to be as effective. And you're going to end up looking skinny fat by the end of it, and you're not going to be happy because you're not focusing on building muscle at the same time. So when you drop all of the weight, you're just losing all of your muscle and you're losing body. Yes, you're losing body fat, but you're losing your muscle and you're just not going to be happy with the end results. So cardio, yes. Excessive cardio, no. We want resistance training. We want to lift weights. We want to build muscle so we can actually look toned after we're dropping the body fat. Walking, increasing your step output, and a little bit of cardio, that is beautiful. And then primarily our fat loss is going to come from our nutrition, not just from the exercise alone, because of the down regulation and because of the increase in your appetite. It's just not as effective as a tool. And plus, okay, so a really big handful of nuts, you could get close to 200 up to 3, even 500 calories in a big handful of nuts. Imagine just removing that from your day, or doing a over 60 to 90 minute sprint every single day. What do you want to do? What's going to be easier, and what have you got more time to do, right? And then when you are doing hours and hours of cardio in order to lose the weight, but you're not doing any changes with your resistance training or nutrition, then what are you going to do when you're done losing the weight? You have to keep going. It doesn't give you any room to break out of it. It actually makes breaking out of this dieting phase back into your maintenance phase really bloody challenging, because your body's so adapted to doing all of this cardio. It takes a lot longer to reverse out of it. And most of the time, that's why people also regain the weight, because all they were doing was hours of cardio. Cool. I achieved my fat loss goals, super happy, stopped doing the cardio, but didn't make any other changes in their life. Boom, all the weight comes back on. So moral of that story is you do not have to do hours of cardio. You should not do hours of cardio. There are other strategies that are better and more effective. Okay, so number 3, you need to be perfect in order to get results. No, if you follow me on Instagram, shameless plug, Sammy_live_strong, or if you are part of the Project Live Strong family already, you will know that I am a huge advocate for progress over perfection and the mindset of just how can I be 1% better every single day? What is the best choice I can make in this scenario right now? So if you're in a situation that is less than ideal and it's not quote unquote perfect, that's going to work towards your fat loss goals, then you could go, all right, what is a good choice I can make right now? What is a better choice? And what is the best choice that I could make right now in order to keep working towards my goals? And so, for example, you're on a road trip, right? And you don't, what's a good option? Okay, well, you could go to one of the takeaway shops, like one of the fast food chains when you're on a road trip, and you could use one of my takeaway cheat sheets that I have on my Instagram, and you could pick a higher protein, lower calorie kind of option from McDonald's or KFC or whatever you want, but you could just be quite cautious of what you choose to pick a high protein, lower cal meal option, right? That would be a good choice. A better choice may be, okay, I'm not going to go to McDonald's, or you're going to build a healthier meal from McDonald's, meaning less fried food, more whole food kind of basis, or maybe you go to Oliver's, or, maybe you get something that you can track. So no matter what you get, you track it, it fits your calories, even if it's not super healthy, whole food vibes, but it's, it fits your macros. Boom, that's a better option. What's the best option? Pack your damn meals, pack all your food, pack your snacks, and then you are in full control of everything. But that's not always reasonable and not what everyone wants to do. So in that, you just have that mindset of what's a good choice, what's a better choice, what's the best choice, and what do I make right now? And in that way, we're always progressing, even if we're not perfect. We're making progress towards our goals. It's that 1% better mindset every single day. And that is one way in order to really stay on top of your fat loss goals and always be pushing forward even when you're not perfect, and not having that mindset of well, I stuffed up, I might as well give up and start again on Monday. And then you get through to Thursday and then you have a meal out and then you're like, well, what's the point? I stuffed up anyways. I'm not going to be in a calorie deficit. I might as well give up, start again on Monday. Where it's no, even one meal out is not going to throw everything out the window. So we do not need to be perfect. We need to focus on progress and have that good, better, best mindset. And lucky number 4 is fat burners, detoxes, all that jazz does not work. Honestly, if it's too good to be true, it's not true. Just that's it. That's literally end of story. So fat burners, they will not do anything if you are not in a calorie deficit as well. They will increase your baseline metabolic rate by the teeniest, tiniest, smallest amount. It is like adding, the fine details on a highly decorated cake, where all the foundations of the cake recipe and the icing and everything else has to be in place. And the fat burners are those pretty little flowers that go on top of a cake. They're not going to do anything unless the cake is actually baked properly and decorated nicely. So you got to do all the other stuff first. The fat burner is like an optional, if you really want, give it a crack, might help, probably won't, but give it a go sort of vibe, right? And detoxes, honey, you got kidneys and liver for a reason. Your body does the detox for you. You don't need to support your kidney and liver with more detoxes. It's not going to increase your fat loss unless you have like kidney or liver disease, and then you're going to have a doctor support you through that process. So unless you have any of that, you do not need detoxes in order to lose body fat. It's just no. Too good to be true? It is not true. Think of it like that. Because you know what's going to work? I'm going to jump into what actually does work. And surprise, it is the absolute boring stuff. The real boring, simple, unsexy stuff. That is exactly what works. The real foundations. We want training, nutrition, and our mindset and habits, right? They're our foundations. They're our pillars. So let's talk about nutrition to get started with. The first thing is it's balanced, it's not restrictive. Because if you're too restrictive, you're going to have that same cycle where you're perfect Monday to Friday, and then Friday evening comes around, you had a rough day at work, you blow out, start again on Monday, and you're always getting back to square one every single time. So we want balance, not restriction. But in order to lose body fat, it is plain and simple, you need to be in a calorie deficit, meaning you are bringing in less energy into your body than your body outputs, right? And then it creates a calorie deficit, which is a gap. Think about like if you're trying to fill a cup up with water and all the food that you're eating is filling the cup up, but you're only filling the cup up, 2/3 of the way there. That last third still needs to get filled up. So what the body does is it taps into your stored body fat, ideally, and a little bit of muscle, but ideally mostly your stored body fat. And we'll talk about how to kind of make it take it from more body fat than muscle in just a tick. But basically your body's gone, okay, well, we need to fill this gap up. We need to finish filling this cup up. It has to be filled to the brim. Let's grab some stored body fat. Let's break it down into energy and we can utilize that. And that is what fills up the cup the rest of the way. So every day the cup needs to get filled to the top. How much food you bring in is how high that water level starts with. And then your body tries to fill the rest of that gap in, right? And that is what a calorie deficit is. So we need to know what our calories are. We actually need to know. We can't just wing it. We can't just eyeball it because you don't know. And then what do? We go, right, here's a starting point. Let's go into a calorie deficit. If we go into a 500 calorie deficit, that technically speaking will set you up for 500 gram loss per week if you were already eating truly at your maintenance. But maintenance calories alone is also a window. It's all a range. It's all a window. It's not a perfect number. So you need to be able to manipulate it and change it along the way. That is actually one reason why I really don't like going, hey, here's your one set of calories. Here you go. Go lose body fat. See you later. It does not work like that because that one set of number might not actually be right for you just yet. So when you use calorie calculators and they say, hey, eat this amount exactly and you're going to lose the body fat, it doesn't work like that because we don't know exactly what's your maintenance calories. So then we're estimating from the start and then we go, right, let's try this. Let's see how your body responds and let's adjust along the way. And then we're going to have diet breaks and refeeds and, maybe we need to drop it down. Maybe we need to bring it up based on how you're feeling. Like we need to be able to manipulate your calories to help you keep the progress and the momentum going because your body adapts. Your body is adapting to everything all the time. So need to be in a calorie deficit, but it's not always one perfect number. It's going to have a range. And then within that, technically speaking, you can eat whatever the hell you want. If you want to eat Ben & Jerry's and McDonald's to lose weight, you totally can. You just may feel like absolute shite. So we don't really want to eat all the crappy foods. We do want to have more whole food base, mostly the good stuff and sprinkling that fun stuff. More of that, like 80% of the time you're eating whole foods, beautiful, awesome. 20% of the time you're having the fun stuff. Like I am a strong believer that a chocolate a day will keep the doctor away. Well, at least maybe the crazy doctor because you're not unhappy about skipping out on the chocolate, right? So it is about including your favorite food so that you can still stay consistent, but it doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. You still need to have some level of compromise. Like if you want to have a pizza and an ice cream and a beer and a cocktail all in the one night, it's like, maybe don't, because that's just going to blow out your calories, right? But maybe you could share the pizza with a friend, and maybe you share the dessert, and then just don't drink the alcohol. Or maybe it's like, all right, I really want this cocktail with my girlfriends on a Friday evening. Like, just, it's something really special we always do together. So it's like, cool, I'm going to have my normal meal prepped dinner, and I might shave a little bit of calories off throughout the day. So then I have a little bit of wiggle room for that cocktail, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. And then the next day, I'm just going to get back to business and have my normal routine. It could be the same. I want to have ice cream once a week. Then allocate for it. It's totally fine, but it's not a free-for-all. It's still, there's some level of compromise, but not full restriction. There is no food that is good or bad. There is no food that is off limits unless you're allergic to it, you're intolerant to it, unless the food is off. Please don't eat it if it's off. But otherwise, there's no foods that are off limits. They're totally fine for fat loss. But with that being said, we do want to make sure we're having really nice high protein, especially in a fat loss phase, because if we aren't eating high protein and we're not doing resistance training, which I will touch on in a second, then your body is more likely to want to break down muscle and the body fat. So then that's where you're going to look skinny fat by the end of the journey, which is not fun. So we want to really make sure that we are eating high protein so that we're giving our body the building blocks to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, which is therefore telling the body to go, hey, we need this muscle. Do not break this muscle down. You go take the body fat. And so having high protein kind of helps with that. It also helps with your satiety levels as well. And it is also a nutrient that we can't store in our bodies the same as we can store carbs and fats. So it is really essential that we are having protein consistently throughout the day. Now, how much do you have? It does kind of depend on your activity levels and your age and your body mass and how much muscle mass you have, and so many other things as well. But, a really rule of thumb like that I've kind of found with the hundreds of ladies that I've worked with is somewhere in the ballpark figure of 120 to 160 grams of protein per day tends to be pretty damn good for most ladies, to be honest. But otherwise, 2 to 3 grams per kilogram of lean body mass, not full total weight, but lean body mass tends to be a really good starting point. But even 3 to 4 grams per day, it's excessive, it's unnecessary, but it is safe on your kidneys. So it's not the end of the world if you go a bit higher, but I would aim for at minimum 2 times your lean body mass. Or, if you just really don't know, start at 120 to 130, see how you feel, go from there as like a nice kind of rule of thumb, right? The more training you do, the more muscle you have, and the older you are, the more protein you do need. So if you're in your 20s, you're not doing a lot of weight training and you're pretty short, you're not going to need as much protein as if you're in your 50s, you're really tall and you're doing resistance training. You're going to need a lot more protein, for example. Then we want to also make sure we're having high fiber, because this is not just important for our gut health, but it's also going to be really beneficial for your satiety levels as well. So think whole grains, fruit, and veg. I generally say to my ladies, we want to have about 200 grams of fruit per day and minimum 300 grams, ideally up to 500 grams of veggies per day. Have a wide variety. That's generally my rule of thumb when it comes to the fruit and veggie intake, and 2 to 3 liters of water. And then aside from that, pretty much go do whatever the hell you want. I do like to suggest that dietary fats stay above 25% of your daily calorie intake, because dietary fats are really important, yes, for satiety as well, but your hormone health and hair, skin, nails, and all of that kind of stuff as well. So it is beneficial that's why you need a balance, right? It's beneficial to just have a balance. Keep it simple. It's a balanced nutritional approach, right? So that's your nutrition. All right, let's jump into training next. What does that need to look like? Primarily, we want to be training to focus on building muscle and getting stronger, and in that way, we are going to tone up. So dropping body fat and building muscle, 2 completely different separate things, but we want to try and make them happen at the same time as best as we can. And at the very least, doing resistance training, like heavy weight training, while you're in a fat loss phase, is going to send signals to your body to say, hey, we need this muscle, don't you dare cut from it. You can take your energy from the body fat. Don't you dare take away from this muscle, because we're using it to train and we need it. So it helps to retain muscle. It's called muscle sparing. when you compare it with high protein. So we want to do weights training, ideally at least 3 times a week. 4 times is fabulous. 5 is great, but really not necessary and not achievable for everyone, depending if you can recover from it. If you are training 5, 6, 7 plus times a week, then you aren't training hard enough. Like 5 days a week at the very most. And if you can do more than that, then you're probably not pushing yourself and not going progressive overload and not trying hard enough in your actual weight sessions. You're probably just going through the motions, going through the movement and focusing on getting sweaty. And that is not the way to build muscle. Unfortunately, we need to not worry about getting sweaty, not worrying about how many calories we burned, but instead focus on how much weight's on that barbell. Focus on what machine you're using. How's the muscles feeling? How is the movement? Did you go through full range of motion? Are you in control? Are you progressing in your reps or in your weight every single week? They're all the measures that you should be focusing on, not how sweaty you are and not how many calories you burnt in a session. Because we want exercise to be a positive and healthy experience, not one to be, how much energy did I burn? Did I burn enough calories today? Like, we don't want that mindset when it comes to exercise by any means. And then a little bit of cardio is also a really fabulous idea. So, with cardio, you could do like 1 to 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes. You could do steady state. You could do a 15-20 minute little hit once a week, something like that. That's totally fine as well. We just don't want it to impact our resistance training though. So if you can't tolerate cardio and resistance training, just do the resistance training and then do lots of walking. That's a lot lower impact on the body and it's easier to recover from as well. I even have some ladies that do dancing for their cardio because they enjoy it. And I'm like, go for it. Whatever you enjoy, do it. It's totally fine. They're doing their weights training, but they're doing some other stuff that they enjoy as well, because we do want to have that balance. You've got to be able to maintain this for the rest of your life. Yeah, you might not have to do this much cardio as you are in a fat loss phase, but still we need to make sure we can maintain this exercise for the rest of your life. And to be honest, I'm so sorry to say this now, but if you don't like weight training, I just want to say toughen up, princess, and keep trying, because you do need weight training for health and for your bone density and for just general function and strength for the rest of your life. So you got to find a way to enjoy it. But I'll leave that rant for another podcast. We're talking about fat loss here today, and I will easily digress into the world of building muscle and lifting weights otherwise. Alrighties, now let's jump into some mindset things. So the first one, I've talked a little bit about it with the progress over perfection, but also we want to ditch that on-off mindset. So it's not like I'm on a diet, I'm off a diet, I'm on a diet, I'm off a diet. You want to embody this lifestyle. If you want to maintain these fat loss results for the rest of your life, then this is a lifestyle, not an on-off switch. So sometimes it's a dial. Actually, sorry, it's not a switch. It's a dial is what you want it to look like. So sometimes the fitness dial is dialed all the way up, and you're 10 out of 10 on your macros. You're 10 out of 10 meal prepping. Your calories are on point. You're going to the gym. You're doing all the things. Everything, that's your priority. And sometimes life gets in the way. So all you need to do is turn the dial down, but you don't switch it off. Maybe instead of going to the gym 4 days a week, you have to drop back to 3 days a week. Maybe instead of doing 60-minute sessions, you can only do 30-minute sessions. Maybe instead of meal prepping every single meal, you've got to get a few ready-made meals and you're meal prepping as well. But you're still hitting your calories, you're still hitting your protein, you're still going to the gym, but it's just not quote-unquote as perfect as you would like it to be. That is the way that we have a dial with our fitness as opposed to an on-off switch. And then with that, you have these lifestyle habits that you maintain for the rest of your life. And then all you need to do is go, cool, I want to go through a bit of a fat loss phase. I'm going to change my calorie intake. And then you go, cool, I want to go through a building muscle phase. I'm going to change my calorie intake. So your foundations don't change, but just a few tweaks here and there with your calories, maybe your energy output. You make small adjustments here and there based on what you want to do with your body composition, but your fundamental habits do not change. And that is key to maintaining your fat loss results for the rest of your life. So having that kind of 80-20 rule. And know that sometimes you're going to quote unquote fall off the bandwagon. And the only way to really make that an issue is if you just don't get back on. If have a day or two and you might go, dang it, I really fell off track here. I don't know what happened. Oh well, I'm just going to go back to my normal routine tomorrow. It's not, I'm not waiting for motivation to get back into it. It's like, bugger, I'll just get back into it tomorrow. It's fine. Just back into the routine that I know. So that is the next step. We're building habits for the rest of your life. And sustainability and consistency are the two sexiest ways to drop the body fat and keep it off for the rest of your life. The key is that you do not need to overhaul your life. You just need to make a commitment to showing up and improving a little bit each and every single day. And if you're like, I'm just waiting for motivation to get started, it's like, well, you will never get started, sis. Instead, just take action, whatever it is. Take one step, just one step forward, and then take the next step, and then take the next step. And then you're going to build momentum, and then you're going to start focusing on improving 1% at a time. And now you're on a roll, and then you start seeing progress, and then you're like, oh dang, this is fun. I'm seeing progress. Let's go. I'm motivated to keep going. But then you've also built the habits. So even on the days where you're like, I cannot be bothered today, you're still going to do it anyways because you're seeing the progress and you're loving the journey. And that is also a very important key to your fat loss journey. You do not have to enjoy every single step of it, but you're going to do it anyways. It's okay to not enjoy every single step of the journey. In fact, a lot of people do not enjoy tracking your food. Like, it's not like I get my scales out for every single meal and I'm like, God damn, I can't wait to weigh out my chicken and weigh out my rice. Like, I love weighing out my food. It's like, no one ever says that. But we weigh our food accurately, we track our calories properly, so we actually know that we're going to get results and get progress in the right direction without all the fluffing about. I did do an Instagram story on this a little while ago, and it's like trying to go through a fat loss phase without tracking your calories and your macros is literally like trying to drive in a city you don't know blind without Google Maps. You're blind. You have no idea where you're going. You're just hoping for the best, hoping you don't have a car crash along the way. You're anxious, you're unsure. It would be very stressful. Whereas if you just have the right game plan that's actually going to guarantee you results and you're tracking your food, you're tracking your calories, you can really know that you're on the right path. It's like setting yourself up with Google Maps to guide you from A to B and you know exactly you're on the right way there. Sure, it might make a little errors and sure, it's going to give you some detours, but you'll know that at least you're on the right path, you're on the right way there. And most importantly, let's also drop that you have a goal weight. We're not going to be chasing one particular goal number on the scale. We're just monitoring the scale to know whether we're progressing in the right direction or not, whether we're hitting a plateau or whether we're not. We're also going to take the scale with photos and measurements and performance in the gym and your calories that you're tracking, and you're going to look at all of that so you can actually see if you're going in the right direction. So it's not about what the scale number says, but the trend over time is very important. And so one beneficial way of doing that is track your weight multiple times throughout the week, because in that way you can see how it fluctuates throughout the week and you're not just relying on one particular day of the week going, oop, hope it's a low day today. Whereas you could just happen to weigh in on a day where the scale is a little bit up just per chance due to hormones and water fluctuations and stress. And if you had a crap night's sleep, there's so many other factors that can affect your scale weight that particular day. So when you look at trends over the week, you can go, oh, okay, so it did fluctuate a little bit here, went down a bit here, but overall, like I am still down X amount over that whole 1 to 2 week period. So I am on the right track. And so then that way, you're not going to spiral every time you jump on the scale. So that is another little hot tip there. Final notes that I must mention in the fat loss phase. We also please go to bed and get a decent night's sleep. You will be so surprised how much stress and sleep can really hinder your fat loss process. So make sure you're getting a good night's sleep and incorporating other stress management techniques along the way. Now, if you want a visual for everything that I have talked about in today's podcast, then go onto my Instagram, Sammy_livestrong, and Sammy is spelled SAMI_livestrong. The link will be in the show notes as well. And message me directly, Fat Loss Masterclass. If you DM me Fat Loss Masterclass, I will send you a YouTube video that I have created that is a visual with slides and breaks all of this down in even more detail than this to really help you walk you through how exactly you are going to start losing this body fat and maintain it for the rest of your life. All right, I've rambled on long enough. That is it from me for today. And thank you for listening as always. And I will see y'all in the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and subscribe. And I'd love if you shared this on your Instagram and tag me, Sammy_livestrong. And if you'd like to learn more about my coaching and join the Project Livestrong family, please message me, Livestrong, on Instagram, and I'll see how I can help. I'll see you next time.